Hey builders, real quick before we get started, did you know that we had a YouTube channel? So if you ever want to see the video version of this podcast, plus get access to all kinds of other video shorts and trainings, all for free, just look us up on YouTube. We're at Mind Steps on YouTube, and I would love to see you over there. Okay, now on with the show. You're listening to the School Leadership Reimagined podcast, episode 228. How do builders like us make a dramatic difference in the lives of our students in spite of all the obstacles we face? How do you keep your vision for your school from being held hostage by resistant teachers, uncooperative parents, ridiculous district policies, or a lack of time, money, or resources? If you're facing those challenges right now, here's where you'll find the answers, strategies, and actionable tips you need to overcome any obstacle you face. You don't have to wait to make a difference in the lives of the people you serve. You can turn your school into a success story right now with the people and resources you already have. Let's get started. Hey builders, welcome to another episode of the School Leadership Reimagined podcast. I'm your host, Robyn Jackson, and today I want to talk about a phenomenon that I'm seeing a lot happening in schools. It always happens this time of year. The school year started and we are, the honeymoon period is over. We're kind of in the thick of things right now, and challenges start coming up. And about this time of the year, people start working late. People start working weekends. People start taking work home every night. Everybody feels overwhelmed and behind. And a lot of times we accept that as just part of the job. I mean, that's what the leadership paradigm teaches us. Sometimes you have to work weekends, sometimes you have to work late. And people feel like when they're in the building, they need to be totally available to the people who are there, the students, the parents, the teachers. And so they take home all the work that they have to do, and they try to do it at other times. Or sometimes you hit a snag, you hit a challenge, there's a wrinkle in your plans. And so you just buckle down, you roll up your sleeves, and you just work harder. And you feel like if you can just work harder, spend more time, put in a couple of nights, put in a couple of weekends, the problem's going to be solved. But here is the problem. You can't outwork your problems. There are some problems that you just can't outwork. No matter how much extra time you put into them, that extra time is not enough to solve problems, not the problems that you're facing in schools. The reason that we are struggling is because we're just not working hard enough. And we think that hard work should be able to solve every problem we face, but you can't outwork some problems. So what do you do instead? Well, let me give you a scenario for you to think through, kind of an example. Let's say that you have several teachers in your building who are struggling this year. Maybe they're new to the profession or new to your building. Maybe you're implementing a new curriculum and they're pushing back a little bit around that, but they're struggling for whatever reason. And so we think that all we need to do is we need to get into more classrooms. We need to give them more feedback. Maybe we need to bring in a coach to support them. And so we spend a lot of time just kind of showing up and giving them feedback and throwing a whole bunch of support at them, and then they don't get better. Let me give you another scenario. Maybe you are seeing a rise in disciplinary issues. And so you're spending a lot of time in your office right now just working with kids and trying to get them back on track. And then you go and you revamp your disciplinary code and you have town halls with kids in different grade levels or teams to talk them through that. You meet with parents. You try to put things in place to kind of avert these disciplinary issues. And you're doing all of that and you're not doing the work that you also have to do. And so you're taking that work home on nights and weekends and you're just putting in more time. You're just throwing more time at the problem, hoping that that time will be enough to help you feel caught up, to help you feel back in control of the work that you have to do, to help you feel like you're making progress. And it fails every single time because there are some problems you just can't outwork. So what do you do? Well, I want to talk to you about how builders approach problems. You see, not every problem is a problem that you need to be solving. So you've heard me tell this story before. Your job is to get across the river, not fight all the alligators along the way. And so not every problem is a problem that you should be solving. So the first thing that builders do when they're feeling overwhelmed and there are all these problems in front of them is they challenge the notion that this is a problem that needs to be solved right now. And instead, what they do is they go back to their vision, their mission, and their core values. And when they're looking at that problem, they're asking themselves some very simple questions. Is this problem threatening our progress towards our vision, mission, and core values? Or does it have the potential, if it's left alone, to threaten our progress towards our vision, mission, and core values? If the answer is no, then that might not be the problem you need to be solving right now. Doesn't mean that you roll up your sleeves and try to solve every problem presented to you. Builders are very picky about which problems they solve. The other thing that they're asking themselves is this a root problem or is this a symptom of a deeper problem? What leaders do is they don't ever interrogate the problems that they're facing. They're just, here's a problem. My job as a leader is to be a problem solver. And you know by now that builders are not thinking about themselves as problem solvers. They're thinking about problem preventers. And so what they want to do is they don't want to just address the problem that's presented to them. They want to actually look at that problem, figure out, is this a symptom of a deeper problem? Because rather than solving the symptom, I need to go deal with the root. And so they don't look at every problem and immediately react to that problem. Instead, what builders do is they say, is this a problem I should be solving? Is this a symptom of another deeper problem that really needs solving? So why waste time with this one? And when you do that as a builder, you pick and choose the problems you solve, but when you solve them once and for all. You're not putting Band-Aids on things. You are actually solving the problem so that it never shows up again. And I think that's one of the big differences between being a leader and being a builder. A lot of times leaders just want to get things off their plate. And if you don't solve the problem once and for all, it's just going to crop back up later on. So you play this giant game of whack-a-mole, always batting down problems. And it's the same problems every single year. If you are dealing with the same problems every single year, then you're not solving the problems. You're just kicking the can down the road. You're just delaying the problems. You're just putting them off and they show back up later on. So no wonder you feel overwhelmed because not only do you have the new problems that present themselves every year, but you've got the old problems that you never solved from last year cropping back up at this time of the school year. And so you think, I just need to work harder. But at some point, you really run out of hours in the day. You really run out of energy to be able to continually solve problems that should have been, or not even solve, to continually address problems that should have been solved so you never have to deal with it again. So the first thing builders do is we're very picky about which problems we take on. But if I take on a problem, I'm going to solve it. And if I don't feel like I can solve it, then I'm not going to take it on right now, because I'm wasting time. And so as a builder, you have to reject the notion that every problem requires your attention. Some problems, they're problems, but they're not threatening my vision. They're not threatening my mission. They're not threatening my core values. They don't represent a root problem. So those are not problems that need me right now. And even if I try to work to deal with those problems, I'm not able to come up with a solution. So any work I do is just wasting time. Instead, I need to focus on the problems that are a real threat to my vision, mission, and core values, problems that are root problems, not symptoms of deeper problems. And when I work on them, I need to work on them until they no longer exist. I need to work on them until they are completely solved. That's the best use of your time. So if I have to stay late or if I have to take work home, I know that I only have to do that for a short period of time because I need to solve the problem, and then I'm never going to have to deal with that again. If you're not doing that, you're wasting time because those problems are going to crop back up and you're just spinning your wheels. And no wonder you're feeling overwhelmed and overworked and tired and despondent and frustrated, because you keep solving the same problems over and over again rather than solving them once and for all. Okay, so the first thing builders do, we're picky about the problems. And if we take on a problem, we're going to solve it once and for all. The second thing that builders do is builders are always looking for leverage, right? So leaders jump in and they say, oh, there's a problem. I'm the leader. I must solve it. They pull out their superhero capes. They do all this work to quote unquote solve the problem. And in the process, they create more work for themselves and other people. Let me give you an example. Let's go back to the teachers. I have struggling teachers, right? So what a leader will do is a leader will, spend a lot of time getting into those classrooms, then spend a lot of time providing support and feedback and, going over and over and over again and thinking that they are the only ones who can do that work. And they work with each teacher individually to be able to do that. And so they were running around, spending all this time and hoping. And then basically, because they don't, they're not always the right person to be actually doing that work, the best they can come up with is a Band-Aid solution. And so they don't really solve the problem of the teacher struggling. They just delay the big major impact of that struggle on kids. Sometimes they teach the class themselves. They call it modeling, but basically they're a free sub for that teacher, and they go in and try to show them how to do it, or they write the lesson plans, or they collect lesson plans and pour over those lesson plans and check the lesson plans, and then they make themselves responsible for what goes on to that classroom. Hey, it's Robyn here. Real quick, I just want to interrupt this episode for just a second, because if you are enjoying what you're hearing, then would you mind sharing this episode with somebody else? So all you need to do is just go to your phone, if you're listening to it on your phone or your podcast player, and then click the three dots next to this episode, and it'll give you the option to share the episode. Now, if you do that, three things are going to happen. First, the person that you shared with is going to think you're a hero, especially if they're struggling with what we're talking about right now. They're going to love you. Secondly, you're going to feel good because you're going to get the word out about buildership and start building this buildership nation. And third, you will get my eternal gratitude, because I really want to get this out to the world, and you'd be helping me out. You'd be doing me a huge favor. So please share this episode with someone right now who's dealing with this same issue, someone you think would really benefit. And now back to the show. So instead of helping those teachers get better, they just take over the classrooms and they become the teachers. So not only have you not solved the problem, but you created more work for yourself. It's crazy. Now, here's what builders do. Once builders say, okay, this is a problem that I should be solving, and this is how I can solve it so that it never shows up again, the next thing that builders do is then they say, where are my points of leverage? So they're asking, okay, if this is what I believe the teacher needs, the first question they're asking, am I the right person to do it, or is there someone better equipped to do it, or something better equipped to do it? So instead of going in each classroom and spending 45 minutes in a classroom, builders leverage microslicing, and they go in the classroom for 5 to 7 minutes. And the whole purpose of being in that classroom is to use the microslicing strategy to identify the root cause for why that classroom's not working. They're not spending 35 minutes creating a laundry list of all the things that went wrong in the classroom and then sitting down with the teacher and giving the teacher that feedback. One thing. That's it. And then once they know the one thing, they're going to, before they meet with the teacher, they're going to figure out what kind of help that teacher needs. You see, just because I'm struggling in classroom management doesn't mean you have all the answers yet. To what degree am I struggling in classroom management? Do I not have things in place? Do I have things in place, but I'm not enforcing those things in a consistent way? Do I have things in place, but there's one thing that may be missing? Until I figure that out, I don't know how to help you. So not only am I going to say, oh, it's classroom management, but then I've got to sit down and figure out, all right, at what level, what degree of help do you need in order for you to be better, for that problem of kids not learning in your classroom to go away? And so Microslicing, 5 to 7 minutes. Sit down, come up with the root cause, identify at what level I need to provide the support. And then when I sit down with the teacher, I'm not just kind of, giving the teacher a laundry list of all the things that they didn't do right. Instead, I'm saying, here's the thing we're going to work on because this is the one critical piece that we need to put in place in your classroom in order to make the big difference. And then, depending on the support the teacher needs, I'm either going to provide it myself, last resort, or I'm going to find the right person or thing or program to help the teacher get the support they need so that whatever problems happening in their classroom is resolved once and for all. I'm looking for leverage. And that way, not only am I solving the right problem, but I'm solving the right problem the right way. And the reason I'm solving the problem the right way is because the leverage point allows me to get the teacher the help that teacher needs in the best way for that teacher. And newsflash, I might not be the best way. So why am I going and wearing myself out, trying to work really hard to support a teacher when my support might not be the support the teacher needs? So first, get picky about your problems. Not every problem needs to be solved, but if you're going to solve a problem, you need to solve it. Second, once you know this is the problem I need to solve, identify the leverage points. What are my points of leverage? What can I do? How can I solve this problem quickly and efficiently in the best way possible? And I need to also accept the fact that I might not be the right solution, that there is another solution out there. And if that's the case, I'm going to find the leverage point. I'm not going to try to work hard. How do I solve the problem thoroughly and quickly and efficiently? And so I'm looking for the leverage point. And then the third thing I'm going to do is that once I have identified the right problem, found the leverage point, then I'm going to put a system in place to make sure that that problem doesn't crop up again. What's the system that I can put in place so that without even thinking about it, the supports are getting to the right people, progress is being made so that once I put the system in place, the system takes care of the problem, not me. Now, I've done a whole podcast about, systems and the power systems. I'm a big believer in systems. And in Buildership University, we spend all level 2 putting in key systems. Everything we do requires a system. And the reason for that is because a lot of times people are making stuff up as they go, and they keep making stuff up over and over and over again. Whereas if they just put a system in place, the system takes care of it. People are trying to carry everything around in their heads versus putting a system in place so they don't have to do that. A lot of what you are dealing with in schools, a lot of the reasons why you're so overwhelmed and so overworked is because you don't have good systems. And if you just put a good system in place, you could go home earlier. If you just put a good system in place, the work would get done even when you're not directly involved in it. I always say that, organizations rise or fall to the level of their systems. And I also say that when things are not working in your school, don't blame the people. And that means not blaming you either. You shouldn't be blaming yourself. It's not the people. It's usually there's a breakdown in the process. There's a system that needs to be put in place. And once you put that system in place and get it going, you don't have to worry about it again. You do those three things. You pick the right problem, you identify the leverage points, and then you put a system in place so that you can create a solution that continues long after you thinking about it anymore. Then you're not working late. You're not overwhelmed. It doesn't feel like you're carrying everything on your back because you put a system in place to let the system do the work for you. That system is taking advantage of leverage so that everybody works less but gets more out of that system. And that system is solving the right problems. That's it. That is the key to ensuring that you are not feeling so overwhelmed. If you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling overworked, if you're feeling like you're constantly behind, if you feel like you're playing a giant game of whack-a-mole and every single day you walk into work and you don't know what's going to hit you and you never have time to do the work you need to do because you're always putting out fires, if you're feeling that way, then I want to challenge you to take a step back and try those 3 steps in the process. Look at all the problems in front of you and figure out, do I need to solve all of these problems? Be picky about the problems you actually tackle. And instead of trying to outwork the problem by just pouring more work into the problem and throwing more hours at the problem, find the leverage points. And then once you found the leverage points, put a system in place so that system helps you solve the problem, even when you are not actively working on the problem. The system continues that work for you. You do those 3 things, and you're not going to feel so overwhelmed. You do those 3 things, and you're going to feel like you're making real progress this year because you decided that instead of whack-a-mole, you are going to approach your problems like a builder. Now, I do want to jump in and say this. If you're feeling that way and you hear that and that resonates with you and you're thinking, I really want to learn how to do that, I am actually going to be doing something. I've got something in the works. Can't tell you about it yet, but I have something in the works that's going to show you how to do that step by step, and it's absolutely free. Now, I probably have already said too much, but just watch this space. Look out for your email. Look out in your email. We're going to be announcing something pretty huge happening at the end of the month. It's free, and it's designed to help you do exactly this. And I'm going to show you how to do it step by step. So just look out in your email for it. If you're not signed up for our emails, then go to schoolleadershipreimagined.com and sign up so that you're getting the emails every single week. That's where we're going to be making the announcement first. And I can't wait. I can't wait for you to see this. It's going to be really cool. So watch this space. Stay tuned. Hey, if you're ready to get started being a builder right away, then I want to invite you to join us at Buildership University. It's our exclusive online community for builders just like you, where you'll be able to get the exact training that you need to turn your school into a success story right now with the people and resources you already have. Inside, you'll find our best online courses, live trainings with me, tons of resources, templates, and exemplars, and monthly live office hours with me, where you can ask me anything and get my help on whatever challenge you're facing right now. If you're tired of hitting obstacle after obstacle and you're sick of tiny little incremental gains each year, if you're ready to make a dramatic difference in your school right now, then you need to join Buildership University. Just go to buildershipuniversity.com and get started writing your school success story today. Hey, it's Robyn here, and I want to thank you for listening to today's episode. Now, if you have a question about today's episode, or you just want to keep the conversation going, did you know that we had a School Leadership Reimagined Facebook group? All you need to do is go to Facebook, join the School Leadership Reimagined Facebook group. Now, there are going to be a couple of questions that we ask at the beginning because we want to protect this group and make sure that we don't have any trolls come in, and that it really is for people who are principals, assistant principals, district administrators. So make sure you answer those questions or you won't get in. But then we can keep the conversation going. Plus, we do a lot of great bonus content. I'm in there every single weekday. So if you have a question or comment about the episode, let's continue the conversation. Join us at the School Leadership Reimagined Facebook group. And I'll talk to you next time.